The urban doom loop has been in the news crazily lately for some reason. So we're going to actually try to break that down on like exactly what that is, give you a couple examples. I would say a really good example may be Detroit now and San Francisco now. Right. And so basically what the urban doom loop is, it was coined by a Columbia University professor. And it basically references that if people are not in the city, or if they've left for some specific reason, all of the services and tax dollars that were once used to keep kind of the city afloat, take care of homelessness and all these other things, and also the retailers themselves would be able to continue to make money in these cities. Once everyone starts to leave for any reason, and the reason nowadays would have been the 19, where people left the city, for like the suburbs, because they could no longer really get outside their house, right? So they would buy a house somewhere in the countryside and try to live their life there, because now they have a backyard and they can kind of go outside when they want to, type of thing. But the problem is that all these people that did that never came back. So you're going to start running into a lot of like tax issues, social service issues that are currently going on in San Francisco, obviously, because the homeless population out there is crazy. People actually just go there from all around the country because they know San Francisco has a lot of social programs specifically for the homeless population there, right? And yeah, so that in itself is enough to destroy almost every single local business that wants to function there. Because why would a local business want to function in a place that has more homeless people, unfortunately, than people that are actually going to be buying their products? And also, imagine someone waking up tomorrow. I want to go shopping at Gucci or Prada or something. They start walking to the place, and then all they see on the entire strip there are homeless people. Do you really think that they're going to feel comfortable enough to continue going to the store? They're not. This is the reason why a lot of these higher end locations have just closed down in San Francisco. They no longer want to partake in the area. And so the urban doom loop basically references this overall scenario, like kind of what Detroit is for the most part. That's the end game of San Francisco. Think of Detroit at its peak, right? Motor City, Cadillac, GM. Imagine at its peak. And imagine it now, where they're selling houses for $1,000 through land banks and things, guys. All right? That's what we're talking about when we talk about specifically the urban doom loop. But all right, so this video here specifically is called How Empty Offices Are Ruining American Cities. Okay, so they're going to be going at it from a different, there's a similar angle, because again, the empty offices are empty because people didn't go back to the city after the 19, guys. And for the most part, they're all working remotely. And again, like all the coffee shops that had built their shops super close to these offices are now struggling because there's no one there to buy their coffee, or restaurants. You know what I'm saying here, guys? So yeah, every city in America, unfortunately, how about this? Maybe not even in America, but every city in the world is probably going to suffer from some type of urban doom loop. I'm trying to plug in my mic, my headphones. But yeah, every city is going to end from some type of urban doom loop, guys. I don't think that there's actually a way around it. If we continue to go the way that we're going, we absolutely all will. And again, homeless people tend to flock towards wherever they can get the most social services, right? And then those are going to be cities, and then people are going to see this, and they're going to be like, I don't really want this on my street, and then they're going to leave, right? But all right, let's get it.
America's big cities are facing major problems.
From sky-high interest rates to the reluctance of employees to return to their office.
The impact of higher rates and the banking stress is hurting smaller businesses across the country.
Many of which can be summed up by a controversial new phrase: the urban doom loop.
The environment is certainly shifting on Main Street, and it's weighing on optimism.
Losses at the bank level, right? There's going to be losses at the investors level, and I think for the cities, right, they're going to have this potential, this urban doom loop.
Let's see how they explain it, though.
Columbia Business School professor Stan Van Nieuwerburg coined the term. Here's how it all works.
Early in the pandemic, a lot of office sector workers started working from home. And here we are 3 years later, many of them are still working from home, at least some of the time. All of that has led to a large reduction in the demand for office. We see a lot of companies downsizing. We see a lot of companies not renewing their leases at all and consolidating.
And guys, keep in mind that all these companies are like all of their mortgages are about to be renewed, guys. Right? So they need to figure out if they're going to be refinancing or not going forward. With interest rates the way they are, it may be better for them not to kind of take any leases out. Absolutely. It may be smarter for them, like in the long run financially, to just keep people working remotely. But yeah, in fact, it's going to destroy almost every city in the United States of America by doing that. But if you want to fix that, speak to Jerome Powell, write him a letter. Right, and tell them to drop the interest rate right now, bro.
He's downsizing. We see a lot of companies not renewing their leases at all and consolidating. And with this demand decline for office comes declines in the revenues for the owners of those offices, and value declines in these offices. Declines in property values reduce property tax revenues for the city. The cities have to balance their budget. They now need to cut spending. That means less money for public safety, for sanitation, for transportation, for education. Makes the city a less attractive place to live. People migrate out. Property values fall more, less money, more people moving out, and the city gets into an urban doom loop where its fiscal health spirals down.
What's funny about this topic here, well, not really funny, but you have a couple of billionaires right now, referring to Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, who are going in there and buying up all these now super low-valued office buildings and looking to turn them into full-blown apartments. But the problem I have with this, now don't get me wrong here. I like the fact that you're going to add to the overall housing supply. That's a great idea. That'll obviously bring down everything that we're suffering from the housing market side, at least, right? It will absolutely help the prices of homes if they start dumping thousands upon thousands and hundreds of thousands of apartments or condos for sale on the market, guys. It will. But here's the dilemma here. There's going to be nothing here. I mean, yeah, you have people, but I guess you're only going to have retail. Well, I guess only retailers, no real offices, because again, how can they exist in this space if no one wants to work inside of an office right now?
At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, remote work policies prompted many employees to leave their city and move to new states. These population outflows have long-term implications for cities, which rely on tax revenues for funding.
Property tax revenue in New York City is about half of all tax revenue. Commercial property tax revenue is about 10% of all tax revenue. So if the value of that falls by 40%, we're talking about a 4% hole in the budget. So if New York City's budget is $100 billion per year, that's a $4 billion shortfall.
$107 billion.
So if New York City's budget is $100 billion per year, that's a $4 billion shortfall that has to be made up somewhere else. Rich people pay a disproportionate share of income taxes.
Absolutely. 100%. They do. Like, listen, everyone can complain about paying taxes, but until you realize, let's talk about these basketball players who get like $40 million contracts, guys. They're only taking maybe 20 from that. And I'm going to be honest, probably not even that, because there are other people that need to take money from them. So they're probably getting like maybe $16 million out of a $40 million contract. Think about that for a second. I mean, listen, we all can complain. Us peasants can absolutely complain. I complain, okay? I hate paying taxes, okay? But those guys, oh yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem, bro.
You know, in New York, for example, a few thousand taxpayers are paying half of all taxes. Migration has become easier because you can leave the city without leaving your job. So if a few rich people or families leave, that could leave a large hole in the budget. The technology sector has been more permissive to remote work, and so those cities tend to be affected the most. You know, think of places like San Francisco, Seattle.
Guys, think about how crazy Manhattan was like locked down during the 19. Think about that for a moment and you'll understand why everyone left. I'm telling you, the people in places, how about this? The places where things were the craziest in terms of like martial law-esque type status, right, are the places where people left. All right? So I'm just going to go ahead and say Houston. I'm surprised about Houston, though, guys. But let's go.
West Coast cities, sort of more generally.
The urban doom loop isn't just a theory. It's playing out in the real world, with landlords finding themselves financially underwater and regional banks facing a credit crunch.
So when I'm a landlord and I want to buy a building, typically I'm going to buy it with a combination of my own money, my equity, and a piece of debt. Because real estate is such good collateral, banks are generally willing to lend a lot of money.
A lot.
So typically there will be 60, 65, sometimes even 75% debt and 25% equity. Right? So that would be a typical financing structure for a commercial real estate building. And then typically the debt will be fixed rate. The only difference is I'm not paying off any principal, which means that 10 years later when my loan comes due, I need to refinance that loan.
Right.
Now, normally that's not a problem.
And guys, no. Normally it's not a problem, but in these current states, with this crazy interest rate, guys, listen, commercial real estate is in a terrible position right now. All right. I'm just gonna let you guys know it is bad. So yeah, these guys are like, listen, oh, you're about to hit us with this crazy modern 2023 ridiculous interest rate, right? And then say that we need more debt to equity? Oh, you're crazy. That's what's happening right now. Who would do this in their right mind? Who would? No one would. Don't be silly. Jerome Powell.
I need to refinance that loan. Now, normally that's not a problem because normally the value of my office will have gone up in these past 10 years.
Right.
But what if it hasn't? What if the value of my office has in fact gone down?
It went down.
So now the bank will look at that office all over again and reassess it. And to the extent it's even willing to give me a new loan, it's going to only want to give me a smaller loan. So now as a landlord, I'm going to have to make a tough choice. Either I come out of pocket and put more money into the deal because the loan that I'm getting now is smaller than the one I need to repay from 10 years ago. So I put in more equity in the deal, or I walk away. And I have the right to do that. I can send the keys to the lender and just walk. A lot of the debt is non-recourse, which means the bank has no recourse to my other assets. I can just simply take this one office building that I've borrowed against and just send the keys to the bank. And the bank now owns the building.
Yep.
So banks are...
And then they sell it to Bill Gates. Well, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. Absolutely.
The keys to the bank, and the bank now owns the building. So banks are facing this deterioration in basically the credit quality of these commercial mortgages that they have on their books. Mm-hmm. So these smaller regional banks that have done a lot of local commercial real estate lending, they're now tightening the screws on the credit for the local non-real estate firms as well. That is sort of a traditional credit crunch. Commercial real estate is a very large asset class. There's about $5 trillion of commercial real estate out there. And whether you know it or not, your pension fund might very well have an exposure to commercial real estate directly or indirectly.
Yeah, buy some type of like REIT or something like that.
Pension fund might very well have an exposure to commercial real estate directly or indirectly. There's also a part of the equity market called the REIT market, which is the publicly listed real estate space. And again, a lot of folks have exposure to that through a mutual fund, through an exchange-traded fund. And those REITs, especially the office REITs, have fallen on hard times in the last several years. Their stocks are often down 50, 60, 70% sometimes.
Yep. Because I have a couple of, and definitely through my ETF, it's definitely lower.
In the last several years, their stocks are often down 50, 60, 70% sometimes.
Occupancy of office getting to 30% below pre-pandemic levels.
The office sector certainly is going to experience more pain than any other sector in the next 2 to 4 years.
With only a small percent of desks occupied around the world 5 days a week and trillions of dollars of commercial and office debt about to come due in the next couple of years, it really makes you wonder how it's all going to shake out.
Oh, bro, not everyone. The overwhelming majority of them are going to default or just be like, whatever.
So
they're going to be like, whatever. Like if they're not like a restaurant, or any of these type of things, that if it's specifically office related, they're done.
Are we really doomed? Or is there a way for cities to pull themselves out of the loop?
The fundamental problem is that we have too much office. The only solution in the long run is to get rid of some of the excess office we have and repurpose some of that space. The solution you hear about the most is apartments. Turns out that that's easier said than done because a lot of our large offices are very big buildings. By my own calculations, only about 10% of office buildings are physically suitable for conversion to apartments. But that's just one of the options. You could think about more medical office space. You could think about more entertainment spaces, more hotel space. There's a lot of creative things we could do with the land. This is nothing new. Cities have always reinvented themselves throughout the ages. And it's now basically our next challenge is to get rid of some of that defunct office space.
Guys, I mean, I like the idea. I mean, I get it. I may just occasionally make jokes regarding them turning offices into apartments or condos. No, they're probably going to be apartments, because I think it would probably be smarter not to sell them and actually own the building, build the condos out, and not sell them, just rent them as apartments. It's much more lucrative in the long run to rent rather than to sell, right? So yeah, that's probably what they're going to end up doing, and they're going to be trillionaires, guys. I'm telling you, it's crazy. This year coming up is a special year for those with any type of like savings. I'm telling you, good credit and savings. It's going to be a special year. All right, but all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.